Long before the Great Pyramid, long before the Sphinx, long before the pharaohs walked the Nile, there was another civilization, a powerful African kingdom erased from history. Most have never heard its name. This is the Kingdom of Kush. What if I told you Egypt wasn't the first African civilization, but Kush may have been the teacher, not the student?
The Nile River, stretching across northeastern Africa, has always been the lifeblood of civilizations. South of Egypt, beyond the First Cataract, lies a region that ancient Egyptians called Ta Seti and Nub, a land defined by its archers and its gold. This territory, now mostly within modern Sudan, became the cradle of the Kingdom of Kush, a civilization whose roots reach deeper into antiquity than most realize. In the heart of this land, the city of Kerma emerged as one of Africa's earliest urban centers. By 2500 BCE, Kerma was already thriving, its people building monumental structures and developing a complex society. The city's defensive walls, constructed from mud brick and stone, encircled a population that numbered in the thousands. Within these walls, skilled artisans produced pottery of remarkable quality, with thin walls and polished surfaces that rivaled the best ceramics of the ancient world. Metal workers in Kerma mastered the art of copper and bronze, forging tools and weapons that would not appear in Europe for centuries. The burial practices of Kerma's rulers revealed the scale of their power. Massive tumuli, or burial mounds, rose above the desert, marking the graves of kings and nobles. In one extraordinary tomb, archaeologists discovered the remains of over 300 individuals, sacrificed to accompany their ruler into the afterlife. Such displays of authority and religious devotion were not the customs of a minor chiefdom, but of a kingdom with the resources and influence to command absolute loyalty. Kerma's influence extended far beyond its city walls. The kingdom controlled trade routes that linked Central Africa with Egypt and the Mediterranean. Caravans carried gold, ivory, ebony, and exotic animals northward, while luxury goods and manufactured items flowed south. The wealth generated by this trade funded the construction of temples and palaces and allowed the kings of Kush to maintain powerful armies. The relationship between Kush and Egypt was complex and dynamic. For centuries, the two civilizations traded, intermarried, and sometimes fought. Egyptian records described Nubian princes serving in Egyptian armies and Nubian gold filling Egyptian treasuries. The border between the two lands was not a fixed line, but a shifting zone of cultural exchange and occasional conflict. Around 1500 BCE, this balance shifted dramatically. Egypt, at the height of its new kingdom power, launched a series of military campaigns into Kush. The pharaohs sought direct control over the region's gold mines and trade routes. Egyptian armies conquered Kerma, and for nearly 4 centuries, Kush became a colonial territory governed by Egyptian officials. Temples dedicated to Egyptian gods rose on Nubian soil, and Egyptian language and customs were imposed on the local population. Despite this domination, Kushite identity endured. Nubian elites learned to read and write Egyptian hieroglyphs, but preserved their own languages and traditions. They adopted Egyptian religious practices, yet continued to honor their ancestral deities. Over generations, the people of Kush absorbed the knowledge and culture of their conquerors, while maintaining a distinct sense of self. By the end of the second millennium BCE, Egypt's power began to wane. The new kingdom collapsed under the weight of internal strife, foreign invasions, and economic decline. As Egyptian authority receded, local rulers in Kush reasserted their independence. The ancient kingdom began to rebuild, drawing on both its own heritage and the lessons learned during centuries of Egyptian rule. This new Kushite state emerged with a unique blend of African and Egyptian elements. Its kings claimed descent from both local ancestors and the pharaohs of Egypt. They built temples in the Egyptian style, but decorated them with motifs drawn from their own traditions. The royal court adopted Egyptian titles and rituals, yet retained the distinctive customs of Kush. This synthesis of cultures became the foundation for a new era of Kushite power. The kingdom's capital shifted southward to Napata, near the sacred mountain of Jebel Barkau. Here, the kings of Kush established themselves as both political and religious leaders, guardians of the land, and mediators between the gods and their people. The rise of Napata marked the beginning of a period of expansion and ambition. The Kushite kings looked northward, toward a divided and weakened Egypt. They saw an opportunity not only to reclaim lost territories, but to assert themselves as the true heirs of the pharaonic tradition. Over the next centuries, the Kingdom of Kush would become a force that shaped the destiny of the Nile Valley, challenging the narrative that Egypt alone was the cradle of African civilization. The story of Kush is not one of imitation, but of innovation and resilience. Its people built a civilization that stood alongside Egypt, sometimes as rivals, sometimes as partners, and sometimes as conquerors. The legacy of Kush endures in the monuments that still rise from the desert, in the artifacts uncovered by archaeologists, and in the history that is only now being rediscovered and understood. As the first millennium BCE dawned, the stage was set for a dramatic reversal of fortunes. The Kingdom of Kush, once a colony, was poised to become an empire. Its rulers would soon embark on a campaign that would see them cross the Nile, march into Egypt, and claim the throne of the pharaohs themselves. The world was about to witness the rise of the Black Pharaohs and the beginning of a new chapter in the history of Africa.
With the dawn of the first millennium BCE, the Kingdom of Kush entered a transformative era. The capital at Napata, nestled beneath the sacred cliffs of Jebel Barkal, became the heart of a revitalized state. This mountain, revered as the dwelling place of the god Amun, was not only a religious center, but also a symbol of Kushite legitimacy. The kings of Kush, now both political and spiritual leaders, drew upon centuries of tradition to forge a new identity, one that blended the wisdom of their ancestors with the grandeur of Egypt. The collapse of Egypt's new kingdom had left the Nile Valley fractured. Competing dynasties, foreign invaders, and local warlords vied for control. In this climate of uncertainty, the rulers of Kush saw an opportunity. They had learned from Egypt's strengths and weaknesses, and they understood the power of symbolism. By associating themselves with the ancient gods and rituals of Egypt, the Kushite kings positioned themselves as the rightful heirs to the pharaonic legacy. The first of these ambitious rulers was Alara, who established the royal line at Napata. His successors, Kashta and Pie, would take the kingdom to new heights. Pie, in particular, stands out as a visionary leader. His reign marked the beginning of the so-called 25th dynasty of Egypt, a period when the pharaohs were not Egyptians, but Kushites from the south. Pie's campaign to reunite Egypt was as much a spiritual mission as a military one. He saw himself as the restorer of Ma'at, the ancient Egyptian principle of cosmic order and justice. As Egypt languished under weak and divided rulers, Pie marched north with his army, not as a conqueror but as a liberator. His inscriptions, carved in stone and preserved for millennia, describe a campaign marked by both force and diplomacy. City after city submitted to his authority, swayed by his piety and his claim to divine favor. The conquest of Egypt by Pie was unprecedented. For the first time in centuries, the Nile Valley was united under a single ruler. The Kushite pharaohs brought stability to a land that had known only chaos. They restored temples, revived religious festivals, and patronized the arts. Under their rule, Egypt experienced a renaissance, a flowering of culture and architecture that recalled the glories of earlier dynasties. Yet the Kushite approach to rule was distinct. Unlike previous foreign conquerors, they did not seek to erase Egyptian traditions or impose their own customs. Instead, they embraced the legacy of Egypt, honoring its gods and respecting its institutions. At the same time, they infused the court with the values and aesthetics of Kush. Royal statues from this period display a unique blend of Egyptian and African features, a testament to the cultural synthesis that defined the dynasty. The reign of Pa was followed by those of his brother Shabaka and his successors Shabitku and Taharka. Each ruler faced new challenges, both internal and external. The Assyrian Empire, rising in the east, posed a constant threat. The Kushite pharaohs were forced to defend their realm against invasions and intrigue, even as they sought to maintain the delicate balance between their dual identities as kings of Kush and pharaohs of Egypt. Taharka, perhaps the most celebrated of the Kushite pharaohs, presided over a golden age. His reign was marked by ambitious building projects, including the expansion of the Great Temple at Karnak and the construction of new monuments in both Egypt and Nubia. He strengthened trade networks, connecting the Nile Valley with the Mediterranean world and sub-Saharan Africa. Under his leadership, the kingdom flourished, and its influence extended far beyond its borders. The Kushite dynasty's rule over Egypt was not without controversy. Some Egyptian elites resented foreign rule, while others embraced the stability and prosperity it brought. The pharaohs of Kush navigated these complexities with skill, relying on a combination of military strength, religious authority, and diplomatic acumen. Their ability to adapt and integrate diverse traditions was key to their success. Despite their achievements, the Kushite rulers faced mounting pressure from the Assyrians. The Assyrian kings, determined to expand their empire, launched a series of invasions into Egypt. The Kushite pharaohs resisted fiercely, but the relentless assaults took their toll. Eventually, the Assyrians succeeded in driving the Kushites out of Egypt, ending the 25th dynasty's control over the north. Yet this was not the end of the Kingdom of Kush. Far from being destroyed, the kingdom retreated to its heartland in Nubia, where it continued to thrive for centuries. The experience of ruling Egypt had transformed Kush, leaving an indelible mark on its culture, politics, and identity. The legacy of the Black Pharaohs endured, inspiring future generations and challenging the narratives that had long marginalized Africa's role in world history. The story of Kushite Egypt is a story of resilience and adaptation. It is a testament to the power of cultural exchange and the enduring strength of African civilization. The monuments built by the Kushite pharaohs still stand, silent witnesses to an era when the rulers of the south wore the crowns of Egypt and shaped the destiny of the Nile. As the Assyrian threat receded, the Kingdom of Kush entered a new phase. The capital shifted once more, this time to Meroe, further south along the Nile. Here, the Kushite kings would build a new city, one that reflected both their ancient heritage and their vision for the future. The story of Meroe, with its iron foundries, its pyramids, and its powerful queens, would become the next great chapter in the saga of the African empire that ruled before Egypt.
The city of Meroe rose from the savannas of the Middle Nile, marking a new era for the Kingdom of Kush. As the capital shifted south from Napata, Meroe became the heart of a civilization that would endure for nearly 1,000 years. The city's location was strategic. Nestled between the Blue and White Niles, it commanded trade routes that stretched deep into Africa and connected the kingdom to the Red Sea and beyond. This new capital was more than a political center. It was a symbol of Kushite resilience and innovation. Meroe's skyline was dominated by the sharp angles of its pyramids, smaller but more numerous than those of Egypt. These structures, built as royal tombs, reflected both continuity and change. While inspired by Egyptian models, the pyramids of Meroe had steeper sides and unique decorative elements, blending local traditions with imported forms. The royal necropolis at Meroe became a sacred landscape where generations of kings and queens were laid to rest, their legacies inscribed in stone. The city itself was a marvel of urban planning and industry. Archaeological excavations have revealed wide streets, residential districts, and workshops where skilled artisans produced pottery, jewelry, and textiles. Meroe was especially renowned for its iron production. The city's foundries, fueled by the abundant forests nearby, made Kush a center of technological innovation. Iron tools and weapons from Meroe were traded across Africa, giving the kingdom both economic power and military strength. Society in Meroe was complex and cosmopolitan. The royal court was a place of ceremony and intrigue, where kings and queens presided over a diverse population. Nobles, priests, merchants, and artisans all played vital roles in the life of the city. Women held positions of remarkable influence, with several queens, known as Candakes or Candaces, ruling in their own right. These powerful women led armies, negotiated treaties, and commissioned monumental building projects, leaving their mark on the history of Kush. Religion in Meroe was a rich tapestry, woven from both indigenous beliefs and Egyptian traditions. The god Amun remained central, his temple at Jebel Barkal still a major pilgrimage site. But the Kushites also honored their own deities, such as Apidamak, the lion-headed god of war. Religious festivals and rituals brought the community together, reinforcing the authority of the royal family and the unity of the kingdom. The development of a unique written script known as Meroitic marked a turning point in Kushite culture. Unlike Egyptian hieroglyphs, which required years of study to master, the Meroitic script was more accessible and likely used for a wide range of purposes, from administration to literature. Although not yet fully deciphered, surviving inscriptions suggest a literate society that valued record-keeping and communication. Trade was the bloodline of Meroe. Caravans carried gold, ivory, ebony, and exotic animals north to Egypt and the Mediterranean, while goods from as far as India and China found their way to the markets of Kush. The kingdom's wealth attracted the attention of neighboring powers, but it also fostered connections that brought new ideas and technologies to Meroe. The city's cosmopolitan character was reflected in its art and architecture, which blended African, Egyptian, and Hellenistic influences. The political structure of Kush during the Meroitic period was both centralized and flexible. The king, or Kore, was the supreme authority, but local governors and officials managed the day-to-day affairs of the provinces. The royal family maintained close ties with the priesthood, ensuring that religious and political power were intertwined. This system allowed the kingdom to adapt to changing circumstances and to maintain stability over centuries. Military strength remained a cornerstone of Kushite power. The armies of Meroe were well-equipped and disciplined, drawing on the kingdom's iron resources and the legendary skill of its archers. The Kandakes, in particular, were known for their leadership in times of war. One famous queen, Amani Renis, led her forces against the Roman Empire, successfully defending Kushite territory and negotiating a peace treaty that secured the kingdom's independence. The prosperity of Meroe was without challenges. Environmental changes, such as deforestation and shifting river courses, placed pressure on agriculture and industry. The rise of rival powers, including the Kingdom of Aksum to the east, threatened Kushite dominance of trade routes. Despite these difficulties, the rulers of Meroe responded with resilience and innovation, adapting their strategies to ensure the survival of their state. Cultural life in Meroe flourished. Artists and craftsmen produced works of remarkable beauty, from intricately carved statues to vibrant wall paintings. Music, dance, and poetry were integral to both religious ceremonies and daily life.
The city's festivals, marked by processions and feasting, celebrated the achievements of the royal family and the unity of the people. The legacy of Meroe is visible in the ruins that still stand today. The pyramids, temples, and palaces of the city are a testament to the creativity and ambition of the Kushite civilization. Archaeological discoveries continue to shed light on the daily lives of its inhabitants, revealing a society that was both sophisticated and deeply connected to its African roots. As the centuries passed, Meroe remained a beacon of power and culture in the heart of Africa. Its influence extended far beyond its borders, shaping the development of neighboring societies and leaving an indelible mark on the history of the continent. The story of Meroe is a story of adaptation, innovation, and enduring strength. A chapter in the saga of the Kingdom of Kush that stands as a testament to the greatness of Africa's ancient empires.
The later centuries of the Kingdom of Kush were marked by both remarkable achievements and mounting challenges. As Meroe flourished, its rulers continued to expand their influence, forging diplomatic ties with distant lands and maintaining a delicate balance of power in a rapidly changing world. The city's iron industry remained a cornerstone of its economy, and the wealth generated by trade allowed the royal family to commission new temples, palaces, and public works. The pyramids of Meroe multiplied, each one a testament to the enduring legacy of the Kushite kings and queens. The Kandakes, or queen mothers, played an increasingly prominent role in the governance of the kingdom. These women were not mere consorts or regents, they were sovereigns in their own right, commanding armies and negotiating with foreign powers. Their authority was recognized both within Kush and by neighboring states. The reign of Ameni-Renas, for example, stands as a symbol of Kushite resilience. When the Roman Empire sought to extend its control into Nubia, Ameni-Renas led her forces in a series of campaigns that pushed back the invaders and secured favorable terms for her people. The image of a one-eyed queen, fierce and unyielding, became legendary in both African and Roman accounts. Religion continued to be a unifying force in Kushite society. The temples of Amun at Jebel Barkal and other sacred sites remained centers of pilgrimage and worship. The priesthood wielded significant influence, advising the royal family and overseeing rituals that reinforced the divine legitimacy of the monarchy. The blending of Egyptian and indigenous beliefs created a spiritual landscape that was both familiar and uniquely Kushite. Festivals, processions, and offerings to the gods punctuated the calendar, bringing the community together in celebration and reverence. The Meroitic script, though still not fully deciphered, offers tantalizing glimpses into the intellectual life of the kingdom. Inscriptions on temple walls, stelae, and pottery suggest a society that valued record-keeping, storytelling, and the codification of laws. The spread of literacy may have contributed to the cohesion of the state, enabling more effective administration and communication across vast distances. Despite its strengths, the Kingdom of Kush faced growing pressures from both within and without. Environmental changes, including deforestation and soil depletion, began to undermine the agricultural base that supported the population. The shifting courses of the Nile and its tributaries made irrigation more difficult, leading to periodic famines and social unrest. The once abundant forests that fueled the iron industry gradually disappeared, forcing the kingdom to adapt its economic strategies. Externally, the rise of the Kingdom of Aksum in what is now Ethiopia posed a significant threat. Aksum's control of Red Sea trade routes diverted wealth and influence away from Meroe. The competition for resources and markets intensified, leading to conflicts that further strained Kushite society. The growing power of Aksum, combined with internal challenges, signaled the beginning of a slow decline for the once mighty kingdom. Yet even in the face of adversity, the people of Kush demonstrated resilience and creativity.
The royal court experimented with new forms of governance, delegating greater authority to regional leaders and adapting religious practices to changing circumstances. The arts continued to flourish, with craftsmen producing jewelry, ceramics, and textiles that reflected both tradition and innovation. The pyramids of Meroe, though smaller than their Egyptian counterparts, became more numerous and distinctive, each one a symbol of continuity and adaptation. The final centuries of the Kingdom of Kush were characterized by a gradual fragmentation of power. Local rulers asserted greater independence, and the central authority of the monarchy weakened. The once unified state gave way to a patchwork of smaller polities, each vying for control of trade routes and resources. Despite this political fragmentation, the cultural legacy of Kush endured. The traditions of the royal court, the rituals of the temples, and the artistry of the workshops shaped the identity of the region. By the 4th century CE, the Kingdom of Aksum launched a decisive campaign against Meroe. The city was sacked, its temples and palaces destroyed, and the last Kushite rulers were overthrown. The fall of Meroe marked the end of the Kingdom of Kush as a political entity, but its influence did not vanish. The technologies, artistic styles, and religious practices developed in Kush spread throughout the Nile Valley and beyond, shaping the cultures of later African kingdoms. The memory of Kush survived in the oral traditions of the region, in the ruins that dotted the landscape, and in the accounts of foreign travelers. For centuries, the achievements of the Kushite civilization were overlooked or misunderstood by historians, who focused instead on the glories of Egypt. It was only with the advent of modern archaeology that the true significance of Kush began to emerge. Excavations at Kerma, Napata, and Meroe revealed a civilization of remarkable complexity and endurance, one that had played a central role in the history of Africa. Today, the legacy of the Kingdom of Kush is recognized as a vital chapter in the story of human civilization. The pyramids of Meroe, the temples of Jebel Barkal, and the artifacts uncovered by archaeologists stand as enduring reminders of a people who built an empire in the heart of Africa. As the sun sets over the ruins of Meroe, the stones whisper the stories of kings and queens, warriors and priests, artisans and traders. The Kingdom of Kush may have faded from the political map, but its spirit endures, in the history of Africa, in the memory of its descendants, and in the ongoing quest to understand the civilizations that shaped our world.
The rediscovery of the Kingdom of Kush in modern times has transformed our understanding of ancient Africa. For centuries, the achievements of Kush were overshadowed by the monumental legacy of Egypt. Early European explorers and scholars, influenced by their own cultural biases, often dismissed the ruins of Kerma, Napata, and Meroe as mere imitations of Egyptian greatness. Yet as archaeological methods advanced and new evidence came to light, a different story began to emerge, a story of innovation, resilience, and cultural synthesis that challenges the traditional narrative of African history. Excavations in the 20th and 21st centuries have revealed the true scale and sophistication of Kushite civilization. The city of Kerma, once thought to be a minor outpost, is now recognized as one of the earliest urban centers in Africa. Its massive mud brick structures, elaborate tombs, and finely crafted artifacts testify to a society that was both wealthy and complex. The discovery of the royal cemetery at Kerma, with its hundreds of sacrificial burials, has forced historians to reconsider the nature of power and religion in early African kingdoms. At Napata and Meroe, archaeologists have uncovered temples, palaces, and pyramids that rival those of Egypt in both scale and artistry. The inscriptions and reliefs found on these monuments provide invaluable insights into the beliefs, rituals, and daily life of the Kushite elite. The Meroitic script, though still only partially understood, hints at a literate society with its own literature, laws, and administrative records. Each new discovery adds depth to our picture of a civilization that was both uniquely African and deeply connected to the wider world. The influence of Kush extended far beyond its borders. Through trade, diplomacy, and conquest, the kingdom forged connections with Egypt, the Mediterranean, the Middle East, and sub-Saharan Africa. Goods from as far away as India and China have been found at Kushite sites, evidence of a vibrant network of exchange that linked the heart of Africa to distant lands. The spread of iron technology, artistic styles, and religious practices from Kush helped shape the later development of African states, including Nubia, Makuria, and even the powerful Kingdom of Aksum. The legacy of the Kushite pharaohs, especially those of the 25th dynasty, has become a source of pride and inspiration for people across Africa and the diaspora. The story of Paye, Shabaka, Taharka, and the Kandakes is now taught in schools and celebrated in literature, art, and music. Their achievements challenge the outdated notion that Africa's history is one of isolation or decline. Instead, the Kingdom of Kush stands as a testament to the creativity, adaptability, and enduring spirit of African civilization. Modern technology has played a crucial role in uncovering the secrets of Kush. Satellite imagery, ground-penetrating radar, and advanced dating techniques have allowed researchers to map ancient cities, identify lost monuments, and reconstruct the environmental changes that shaped the kingdom's fortunes. Isotope analysis of human remains has revealed patterns of migration, trade, and intermarriage, painting a picture of a society that was both dynamic and interconnected. The preservation of Kushite heritage faces significant challenges. Political instability, economic development, and climate change threaten many of the region's most important archaeological sites. International efforts, led by organizations such as UNESCO, have sought to protect and document these treasures, but much work remains to be done. Local communities, too, play a vital role in safeguarding the legacy of their ancestors, passing down stories and traditions that keep the memory of Kush alive.
The story of the Kingdom of Kush is not just a tale of kings and queens, battles and monuments. It is a story of ordinary people, farmers, craftsmen, traders, priests, who built a society that endured for more than 1,000 years. Their daily lives, though separated from us by millennia, were shaped by the same hopes, fears, and aspirations that define humanity today. The artifacts they left behind, tools, pottery, jewelry, and inscriptions, offer a window into their world, inviting us to imagine the rhythms of life along the ancient Nile. As scholars continue to study the ruins of Kerma, Napata, and Merowe, new questions arise. What secrets remain hidden beneath the sands? How did the people of Kush adapt to changing climates and shifting political landscapes? What can their achievements teach us about resilience, innovation, and the power of cultural exchange? Each discovery brings us closer to understanding the full scope of Africa's contribution to world history. The Kingdom of Kush reminds us that civilization is not the exclusive domain of any one region or people. Across the globe, societies have risen, flourished, and left their mark on the human story. The pyramids of Merowe, the temples of Jebel Barkal, and the legacy of the Black Pharaohs are part of a shared heritage that belongs to all of humanity. In the end, the story of Kush is a story of transformation. From its origins as a cluster of villages along the Nile, the kingdom grew into an empire that rivaled Egypt, defied Rome, and shaped the destiny of Africa. Its rulers embraced change, blending old and new, local and foreign, to create a civilization that was both rooted in tradition and open to the world.
Their achievements endure in stone and memory, a testament to the enduring power of human creativity. As the sun rises over the ruins of Meroe, casting long shadows across the desert, the legacy of the Kingdom of Kush lives on. It lives in the pride of its descendants, in the curiosity of scholars, and in the imagination of all who seek to understand the rich tapestry of our shared past. The African empire that ruled before Egypt has reclaimed its place in history, inviting us to look beyond the familiar and to celebrate the diversity and resilience of the human spirit.